The RF time reporting policy has been in place for quite some time, and it is the basis for which we pay employees for services rendered for the Research Foundation. Both the Fair Labor Standards Act and the New York State labor law govern the tenets of this policy and provisions around this policy. With the recent audit findings, we realized that it was time for us to really review our time reporting document and policies, and determined in that review that we have a policy that is compliant with our wage and hour laws and our federal laws, but that there were some parts of it that were really more procedural in nature. And so we broke out those sections of our former time reporting policy and made them into a procedure. We also eliminated some wording that we had in there about effort reporting. We have effort reporting policies and procedures and documents, and had heard feedback that having it cross-referenced in the time reporting policy was a cause for confusion for folks as well. In addition, probably the main or biggest change that came along with Operation Excelsior in providing internal controls around this policy is that we do have a requirement now that campuses monitor that they have received non-exempt biweekly timesheets as well as exempt exception reports, and that there's a system in place to monitor this.
Administrators should also have a system in place for tracking the receipt of attendance reports. The RF does not dictate what system or method is used for this tracking, but it is important to have a system in place. This review is important because if there is a breakdown in the process, we want to catch it early. We want to ensure that the RF is not paying an individual if they are not providing services or using accruals. So if we're paying someone but do not have a time report for that individual, that's a problem, and over time, it can create a significant risk of overpayment. Tracking receipt of reports helps minimize the risk of costly and time-consuming payroll problems. The RF does offer time tracking, which is used to pay hourly employees and extra hours to salaried non-exempt employees. It also offers exception report tracking for exempt employees.
Well, a number of years ago we had an audit, and one of the findings was that we were not receiving timesheets in a timely manner from non-exempt employees mostly. And so we instituted a formal written policy that we give to all new employees, and we remind our employees of it from time to time, that states that their timesheets have to be in by the Wednesday following the end of a pay period, and that if they're late, what we do is we send them a reminder, and if our friendly reminder doesn't work, then we have our OM send them a reminder. And in the worst case scenario, then if that doesn't work, we do stop direct deposit if the employee has direct deposit, and make them come in and kind of see us and maybe embarrass them enough where they'll bring their timesheets. It's happened once. We've never had to do that again, but we do send out reminders often. They're generally the same people. We do have repeat offenders. And a lot of times just we copy the supervisor on the initial email that we send to employees. And that sometimes works because sometimes the supervisor is not aware that that their employee's not doing this. It isn't something that they're necessarily monitoring. They're leaving it to the employee to monitor their own timesheets. And so that usually works.
I'm wondering how you might handle, though, a supervisor who's an RF employee and their role in completing, signing and submitting. Is there any, do you have any process for dealing with the supervisor in those cases, and ensuring that they're, doing their part?
Well, when we start to explain to a supervisor, and it may or may not be a PI, and we explain that it's an audit finding, I don't think a lot of them think that how could this possibly be an audit finding. Typically, that's it.
They make a connection.
They do.
Yeah, they do.
They do.
Right. So again, it's
Thank you.
communication,
Yeah,
educating.
Great.